Shabbat Shalom. Good morning. I hope you're all safe today, healthy. Blessings and greetings to the 12 tribes, the true 12 tribes of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whose name was changed by the Most High himself to Israel, whose children, according to Bible prophecy, have been scattered through slavery and oppression into the four corners of the earth because of the sins of our fathers in worshiping other gods, and are now, according to Bible prophecy, awakening back and returning to the God of their fathers, to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whose name is Yah. Blessings upon you and greetings. Greetings and blessings to those who are not of that bloodline, who do not share that history, but want to and are being grafted into the nation of the children of the scattered people of Israel through faith in the Hebrew Messiah, the line of the tribe of Judah. Greetings. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, trying to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us to keep our places clean. Blessings upon those that make deliveries for our convenience, unsung heroes that provide things that we take for granted, like being able to walk into a supermarket at any time and get whatever we can afford to get because it's been delivered by somebody. Double blessings on those trying to deliver, trying to recover, trying to help restore, rebuild, save boys, girls, toddlers, babies, teenagers, and adults from human trafficking, from sex slavery operations, which go on a global basis, including the United States of America, from prostitution, from child prostitution, from pornography and child pornography, from pedophilia and child molestation. Blessings, double blessings on those trying to help these poor people that are in these unfortunate situations, and double curses on those that lure, those that support, those that are involved with these abominable industries. May the Most High's curse be upon you and judgment soon fall on you. Finally, blessings upon those that are homeless. 600,000 men, women, children, families, veterans that don't have a roof over their head in the United States of America, and millions and millions upon people in other countries around the world that are even worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. And blessings upon those souls that are mindful of them and seek to try, at least in a small way, to help them. Brethren, we've been studying, or we started our study in the prophecy of Hosea, and we're going to continue. We did an overview last night where we were looking at chapters 8, 9, and 10 of the Epistle of the Romans, in which the Apostle Shaul, or Paul, who was teaching the converts to the Hebrew Messiah about Israelites and the history of the Israelites and the future of the Israelites. And he was quoting, among other prophets, he quoted many prophets. He quoted not only Hosea, we saw that he quoted Isaiah, he quoted Deuteronomy as well. And he was teaching them that the Most High appears to have cast off his people, but he did not cast them off, but it was according to Bible prophecy. And in that prophetic utterance, the Gentiles were going to get the opportunity through the chosen Hebrews, like Paul, to learn of the Hebrew Messiah and the gospel of the Father's perfect righteousness. I want to start today with something the Most High impressed upon me to share with you from, again, my own experience. My father, my earthly father, is who he is. Love my earthly father. Um, at this age, at age 60 now, and he's now 81, I understand him a lot better than I did when I was little. His environment, as all of our environments, shaped who he was. He grew up hard. He grew up poor, okay, desperately poor. And he grew up in a hard situation, okay? And it showed in everything that he did. I mean, there were many times when I was a kid, my brother and I would be downstairs in the basement of our house. And when my father, we would hear a gate open in the front because my father was pulling in. He'd have to open the front gate. And when we heard the gate, we get ready to get by the back door so that when we heard the door of the car close, we get out the back door before he came in. Because sometimes just because of how he felt, there might be hell to pay. Nothing you might not have did, just because of how he felt. And in his own way, he tried. I mean, in his own way. And so when I was growing up, especially the early years, and I started school age 5, it was just this: bring home A's and B's or get your behind whipped. There was no in between, right? Bring home A's and B's on your, and you were scared when you got that report card. Okay. Like I didn't understand it in first grade. In first grade, I was just having a ball in elementary school. I was running around the hallways. People used to think I was a cute little boy and they thought it was cute, but I didn't do no work. I would get these big red F's on everything I did in school. And I just I knew it was a bad grade and I just put it in what I thought was my little secret drawer. And then one day I came home and my father worked at night. So about the time I got home, maybe an hour and a half later, he would be headed to work. This day I came home and he was sitting on my bed. And right next to him was a pile of all them F papers. I got the message that day that, yeah, no, you don't make sure you bring home them A's and B's, right? So that's the way it was. And I showed a particular proficiency in math. I just had it with math. I just could just do math, right? So especially multiplication, division, all that stuff. It didn't take me long to pick that up. I used to love it. So when I got to the 6th grade, one day, make a long story short, my mother basically kidnapped me and my brother and sent us away to live with my grandmother and my great aunt. My Jamaican side of the family sent us away to live with them for a couple of years. And these two women, my grandmother was like literally like 4'10", and my great aunt may have been 5 feet. Two little old Jamaican women. Now they had their ways, Jamaican, she could be, but they wasn't hard enough for me and my brother, So we ran circles around them, but and we got away with a lot of stuff we wouldn't get away with. So one of the things we got away with them being away from my mother and especially my father was school. I would come home with B's and C's, and there was no retribution. There was not even a rebuke or nothing. And I was slacking off. I mean, I really was. The only time I tried is to, like, when a teacher would get on my nerves. Like one time I got straight A's and she gave me a B so that I wouldn't appear to be the smartest one in the class because I was the only black in the class. And that happened to me a couple of times. And that's when I would really try because I hated that. I thought it was unfair, obviously. But usually I'll just slide by. So 2 years later, my mother and father were getting divorced and they were separated. And I came back to live with my father. And so I hadn't remembered, I was now 13. I had left him when I was 11. And I was still slacking off. So I come home the first quarter with all of these C's and sometimes D's. And he looked at that report card. And again, he gave me a very harsh message. Now, as I look back, I would not suggest that you physically abuse your children the way my father went off on me or my brother. Even though, I mean, we turned out like we respect him. We don't talk back to him like people do these kids today. We respect him, because we felt the wrath, right? So, but I had A's and B's after that. And I brought that up because later on, I realized my father saw in me abilities, especially in academics and in math. And it was his way of saying to me, you're better than this. Now, I wish he'd have sat me down and just told me. I probably would have got that, but that's not his way, was physical. So he was really trying to show me you're better than this. Because see, another thing that caused me to forget about A's and B's when I had come back to him 2 years later was I noticed all of my friends, like when they would come home with C's, their parents would applaud them for getting C's. Oh, great, you passed. It was about, yeah, you passed. And I forgot my father held me to a much higher standard. He expected much more. And he knew I was capable of much more. And so, and it wasn't like, when I got the A's and B's, he said, oh, great job, son. No. He would say, that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. And that was his way. I didn't understand it then, but I understood it later as an adult. That was his way of saying to me, you have talent and you need to fulfill your talent. And if I catch you not fulfilling your talent, I'm going to punish you hard. Forget what all your friends, family thinks about what they doing. I'm going to punish you hard. Now, he went extreme on it. I would say that, but I got the message. Well, brethren, in the Bible, you will notice that there are 2 times when the Most High expresses to an entity that they're a whore. Here in Hosea, and he's talking to Israel, and in the book of Revelation when he's talking about the Catholic Church and the worldwide religious political system that we're in, right? Babylon. He called them both whores. Some people even get confused and think he's talking about the same entity. He's not. But with Israel, the punishment he puts on her is hard. Why? Because he has chosen her for higher things. Because he knows, based on the stock they came from of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he knows and he expects a higher level. Now, the Babylonian whore, he don't care about that. He's going to destroy that one because that's them. But no, he don't treat the Israelite whore the same way. Just like my father said, I don't care what your friends' parents are telling them about C's. Don't you bring them in here. Our father said, they can go worship other gods. That's their business. Don't you do it, though. And that's spiritually what being a whore is. It's not giving total and complete submission to the only true God, Yahweh. To him, he don't care if the nations do it. He cares if we do it. And because of who we come from, he's going to punish us harder for that. Okay, he's going to punish us harder for that. Okay, so when you see Hosea, you're seeing the story of how the Most High is treating his chosen one that becomes a harlot. And why, I'm explaining to you now, and you're going to see it when you study Hosea. Why? Because he expects more. Because they are the chosen. Because he has only revealed himself to them. The things of him, he's only taught to them. He has not taught it to the heathen. He has never revealed himself from a mountain in fire to any other million people on the planet. He has never thundered a covenant with a nation. Only one nation. And Messiah did not come from just any place. He came from them. And that was by design of the Father. Okay? So the punishment to the Israelite people is severe because he expects more from us. And now, according to his wisdom and eternal prophetic utterance of the word, we are awakening at the time we're supposed to be. The awakening is now breaking through, and people are now waking up. But we need to understand with clarity and wisdom why we were in this position in the first place. Okay? And we need to understand with clarity and wisdom why this whole system is not built for us. That's their system. It's not built for us. And they must be in charge of the whole thing. They have to be. Because when Yah comes to deliver us, his true chosen, and he destroys it, we must have the complete understanding and consciousness that it's him. It's not us. When he said, this battle is not yours, but Yah's, that's what he needs us to understand. He only wants us to return to him. He gonna end up breaking this place down and punishing the inhabitants. And yes, in some instances, he's gonna use us to help him do that. But it's not because of our might. It's not because of our power. It's not because of our wisdom. It's not because of our superior understanding. It's not any of that. We have to get to understanding it's him alone. It's Yah alone that's doing this. And he's sending his appointed son, Messiah, to accomplish this work that he's going to do in establishing the new kingdom. So our job right now, if I could say it that way, is for us to return to him and understand who we really are and how we got here and why it is so severe. It's severe because he expects higher of his chosen. Okay, that's what you're going to see as we look at Hosea. Now, I want to show you something. Hosea is really Hawashai. Hawashai, to save, exists to save. Hawashai, that's Hosea, right? In New Testament, we saw last night, they called it OC, right? OC or something like that. Hang on, let me, for some reason, you guys in the chat, I could not see you until just now. Just wanted to let you know that. I couldn't see it till just now. Shabbat Shalom to the chat. I'm sorry I didn't see you until just now. For some reason, it wasn't popping out. But yeah. So in the book of Numbers, though, I want to show you something. When the 12 spies were being selected to go and spy out the promised land, I want you to notice something about that. In Numbers chapter 13. In Numbers chapter 13. Numbers 13. I'm going to start at verse 1 and go down to verse 16 and pay close attention, please, to verse 16 when we get there. But Numbers chapter 13 from verse 1 to 16, okay? And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses, by the commandment of Yahweh, sent them from the wilderness of Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel. And these were their names. Okay, so now one chosen man of each tribe, a leader of the tribe, okay, of each tribe. Of the tribe of Reuben, Shammua, the son of Zakur. Of the tribe of Shimeon, Shaphat, the son of Ori. Of the tribe of Judah, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. Of the tribe of Issachar, Igal, the son of Joseph. Of the tribe of Ephraim, now this is the one that you're going to match with 16. Of the tribe of Ephraim, notice it says, Hosea, the son of Nun. That's Hosea. It's the same word. Okay. Hosea, the son of Nun. That's the same word as the prophet Hosea. The same word. Okay. All right, let's continue. Of the tribe of Benjamin, Palti, the son of Raphu. Of the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel, the son of Sadi. Of the tribe of Joseph, namely the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi, the son of Sushi. They had to say that because Ephraim is also Joseph. Of the tribe of Dan, Amiel, the son of Gamali. And of the tribe of Asher, Sethor, the son of Mikael. Of the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi, the son of Vofi. Of the tribe of Gad, Guel, the son of Maki. Now, verse 16. These are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy out the land. And Moses called Hosea, the son of Nun, Yahosea. So he changed his name from Hosea or Hawashai to Yahawashai. Moses did that. Joshua didn't say, I'm going to change my name. Moses, the prophet, looked at him and said, your name is not going to be exist to save. Your name is going to be Yah exists to save. Hawashai. Okay. So now you see, that's why you have later on Hawashai, who's Joshua, chosen to lead the children of Israel into the promised land. And now you have Yahushua, son of the Father, to lead the children of Israel into the promised kingdom. Isn't that powerful? But his original name was the same as the prophet we studying today, Hosea or Hawashai. Right? So let's go now to that prophet. And it's no coincidence that this prophet chosen name was to save. No coincidence. Why? Because he is saving Israel. Right? So let's go Hosea. We did chapter 1 last night, but I'm going to go back and do it again. Because now we did it last night to give you the indication of why the Apostle Paul was telling the Gentiles, don't think Yah has forgotten his chosen people. The people that are not his people are really his people. In other words, they reject the Messiah, but don't sleep on him. Because he's going to call them back. That's what he's telling them. Don't get wise and you don't can see. Matter of fact, before we get into this, I need to tell y'all, just to, again, go over this very clearly. What I'm about to say, I don't think any Christian that knows their history, even a little bit, can deny what I'm about to tell you. The Catholic Church dominated Europe and other places as well, but Europe for sure, for the better part of 1,200 years. For the better part of more than 1,200 years, there was no other religion in Europe but the Catholic Church. Okay, that was it. Can you imagine one religion dominating the entire Europe, all except for Asia Minor, where you had Islam come in the 6th century, 7th century, actually. When you had Islam come in the 7th century, and then east of that, in Eastern Europe, later in the 8th century, you had Judaism come. But for the most part of 1,200 years, Catholicism dominated Europe. There was no other option. Any uprising against that religion was quickly crushed and put down. That's what they call a crusade. Okay, quickly crushed and put down. All right, and you were forced. There were Hebrews in Europe at that time, true Hebrews, that were sent away into slavery from Europe. They dominated places like Spain. The Moors and others dominated Spain and Portugal. But when the Catholic Church, which was prophesied to rise, came, either you converted or you were put away. That's how it was. Okay. Now, during the course of time, there were Catholic monks and priests. And the monks and the priests, and again, I challenge any Christian to tell me I'm wrong on this, because they know I'm telling the truth. The monks and the priests were the ones that were permitted to read scriptures and to read, period, to study things. They had license. You had to have a license to study certain things. And that license was granted by the Catholic Church. And the monks and the priests started really reading the original transcripts in Hebrew and Greek of the scriptures. And some of them were coming around to the thought that, wait a minute, our church, which is the Catholic Church, is not teaching what these manuscripts are saying. As a matter of fact, some of them came to the conclusion, and we're talking about Zwingli, John Knox, Hus, Martin Luther, William Tyndale. They started coming to the conclusion that, wait a minute, some of the teachings are totally opposite of what these manuscripts are saying. And so what ended up happening is they had formed the idea that they were going to help reform the Catholic Church. They never intended to dismantle it. They wanted to reform it. That's why you hear some of the Protestants, some of the so-called evangelicals look back today, and they'll call them, those men from that time, they'll say they were reformers. That's what they'll call them, reformers. I dare anybody tell you I'm lying. That's the truth. Okay? So these men who were these reformers, their object from, everybody, Hus, Zwingli, Martin Luther, Knox, Tyndale, they never intended to leave the Catholic Church. They wanted to just reform it. The Catholic Church resisted that, being the whore that it was destined by prophetic utterance to be. They rejected it. And when the men pushed too hard and got too many followers, they would call you a heretic and kill you, as they did to most of them. Okay? But the people who would rally around the reformers became what was called Protestants. Why? Because they were protesting Rome's rejection of the teachings of the reformers. They were protesting Rome. And the object of the Protestants was the same as the reformers. They wanted to clean up Rome. Because even among the Catholics, they knew Rome was corrupt. They were buying and selling archbishop positions. People that had the money would get away with stuff that people didn't. Landowners would get away with stuff that people didn't. And so they saw the corruption and they were trying to clean up Rome. And if you listen to evangelicals and Protestants now, that's all they'll glorify that area. Oh, yeah, this is the Protestant movement and it was great, blah, blah, blah. But look, if you look back on it now, the question nobody ever asks, because if they asked this question, they would see the truth, at least start to. Were they successful in cleaning up Rome, or did Rome take over them? They never asked that question. Because you know why? Rome did take over them. They failed. They never cleaned up Rome. That was the whole point. And they failed. Most of them died trying to clean up Rome. Okay? Number two, every Christian denomination that you see today, every last one, has its foundation in that Protestant movement. Every last one. I don't care which one you tell me. I don't care if it's Mormon or SDA or Baptist or Pentecostal or Jehovah's Witness. They have their origin, their roots come from that Reform movement. And the Reform movement's roots come from Rome. Follow me now. So that every Christian church you have today is coming out of Rome. It did not come out of the apostles of the book of Acts. It came out of Rome. Okay? Unless you want to believe what the Catholics teach, that Peter was the first pope. If you believe that, then you can say it goes back to apostolic times. The Bible doesn't support that because Peter wasn't no pope. There was no pope. Peter wasn't being called no holy father. Okay? He was a repentant sinner, like all the apostles. He was chosen by the Hebrew Messiah, and he was a Hebrew. Okay? So all your Christian churches originate in Rome, every single one of them, with the Protestant movement. And every single one of them has been infiltrated and taken over. That's what the whole point of the Jesuit order was about, to infiltrate every church. That was the point of it. Now, that's all they are. Every Christian church is an offshoot of Catholicism. And now, I want to tell you something. There was a man who died in 2014. He was a bishop. His name was Tony Palmer. You go look him up. His name was Tony Palmer. And he, at that time, he died in a motorcycle accident. Now, who knows if that was purposely done or not, because you never know with Rome. But Tony Palmer was telling everybody, he had the leaders of Protestant churches meet, and the purpose was unity. Tony Palmer was a Pentecostal Catholic. And he was one of the infiltrators, and they infiltrated the Pentecostal church. And he was telling all of the so-called, now they don't call them Protestants anymore. Now they call them evangelical. That's what they call them now. All the evangelical churches, he was telling them, there's no more protest. He said, y'all need to come back. We need to unify back with our mother church, the Catholic Church. He was telling all of them that. He said, and he had meetings with the Pope at that time, and they were making a show of unity of all the Christian churches. And he wasn't lying when he said, there's no more protest. He said, y'all not protesting anymore. Because they had successfully infiltrated every last Christian church. And the reason they were permitted to do that is because every last Christian church came out of Rome. That's why they permitted to do it. And that's why when you see J. Edgar Hoover talk about, we got to stop the rise of a black Messiah, they're scared of the rise of the true Hebrews because they cannot infiltrate us. They try. Or you see people with the uniforms on the corner talking all that hate and foolishness, trying to pose as us. But you cannot do it. Why? Because of the Spirit of the Father. Because you see, the true Hebrews did not come from the Catholic Church. The true Hebrews, the name Israel was given by the Most High. He chose that. We did not say, oh, we're going to be Israelites. We're born Israelites. That's why we say this is not a religion. It's a nation. See? And so they could put out fake ones, or they could do that. But I dare anybody. You see what we teaching here on this channel, and you compare that to what some of them cats in them uniforms and all that teaching. You do that. And you tell me, okay, there's a different spirit. It's a different spirit. All right? And you know why? Because you cannot stop Yah's spirit. You can't. How you going to do that? You can't stop the spirit of perfect righteousness. You just can't do it. Okay? So that's why they can't infiltrate us, because we're not a denomination. We're not a 501c3 corporation. We are a nation that's scattered by prophecy. And the Most High is waking us up all over the earth. And it's got nothing to do with somebody's denomination. We're not asking somebody, join this church, give money to this church. That's Christianity. That comes from Rome. They've been doing that. You never saw the apostles tell anybody, give to our church. You never saw that. People would volunteer money. They didn't even give tithes. Why? Because there was no Levites. You saw Barnabas, who was a Levite, sell his land and give the money to the apostles. He's supposed to receive tithes. No. What you got now is a whole group of Christian churches, all of them, that's coming out of Rome. And by prophetic utterance, Rome controls them all. That's why it's called the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. There's only one chosen people. The Bible clearly, we tell you all the time. Look at Psalm 147. Look at Deuteronomy, chapter 14, chapter 7. Look at all of them, chapter 32. There's only one chosen people. Look at Leviticus, chapter 26. He's only chosen one people. Look at Amos. We're going to study Amos. Only one chosen. Are not y'all like the Ethiopians to me, he said? There's only one chosen people. And we just read last night where Paul broke it down for the converts, where he said, don't get high in your own conceits. He ain't forgotten his chosen people. He foreknew them. You're not forgetting them. All Israel gonna be saved. He said, y'all not natural branches. Y'all come from wild olive trees, and you grafted into the natural tree, but it's not your natural tree. He said the natural one's gonna get grafted back in from broken off to their natural tree. That's the awakening that we're now seeing, according to Deuteronomy 30, according to Ezekiel chapter 36 and 37, according to Isaiah chapter 11 and 10. You're seeing that awakening that all of these prophets are talking about, including Hosea. So let's come back. Hosea chapter 1. Hosea chapter 1, beginning at verse 1. The word of Yahweh that came to Hosea, the son of Beeri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, the beginning of the word of Yahweh by Hosea. And Yahweh said to Hosea, go, take unto thee a wife of whoredoms, and the children of whoredoms, for the land have committed great whoredom, departing from Yahweh. So look, this is how hard, this is how straight, this is how tough sometimes the word of Yah is. And he did this with other prophets as well. He did it with Ezekiel and he did it with Isaiah. He tells them, marry this woman as a sign. Imagine that. I want you to marry my prophet. I want you to marry this woman as a sign. Never mind love. I need you to marry her as a sign. He did it to both Ezekiel and he did it to Isaiah, and he's showing it here in Hosea. And he said, Hosea, I need you to marry this whore. She's a whore. Marry her. Because the land is as a sign that the land is in whoredom. You think Most High not serious about his people and their salvation, and that he just cast them off? You think? Come on now. He told his prophet, go marry this whore. So he did. Okay. Verse 3. So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, which conceived and bare him a son. And Yahweh said unto him, call his name Jezreel. For yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Israel. Now, who is this? You got to look at the kings. And this is the thing. There's First Kings and Second King, and there's First Chronicles and Second Chronicles. Okay. Now, I just wanted to give you a little, I guess, cheat sheet. The kings focus on the northern kingdom. I mean, they mention the southern kingdom, but the focus is on the events and kings and successions of the northern kingdom and the prophets of the northern kingdom. The Chronicles focuses on the southern kingdom. Okay, so you'll see more detail about the southern kingdom in the Chronicles. You'll see more detail about the northern kingdom in the First and Second Kings. Okay, and in Second Kings there was a man named Jehu. Now, Elijah, the prophet, was about to be translated to the third heaven. Okay, he's about to be translated, and before his translation, he stood on Mount Carmel. If you'll remember, he stood on Mount Carmel and he stood against 400 prophets of Baal. And he challenged the whole nation to either worship Yah or worship Baal. But don't try to have both, because that's what they were doing. They were trying to mix the worship of these two together and commit the true God with the false God. Of course, we know what happened. The sign from the Most High came, and everybody was now following Yah, and all the prophets of Baal were killed that day. They were all killed. 400 prophets of Baal. The people killed them. They would have killed Yah if Yah had not come through for him, but obviously he did. On Mount Carmel, they killed all 400 prophets of Baal, and if you remember, there was a 3.5 year drought. 1260-day drought, 42-month drought, where there was no water, no rain for 42 months. Think about that. Okay? No rain. So now, at the end of that, Jezebel threatened to kill Aliyah. Aliyah ran. Aliyah, while he was in the wilderness, the Most High sustained him with no food for 40 days. And then he told him, he gave him instructions. And one instruction, I want you to anoint Hazael to be king in Syria. I want you to anoint Jehu to be king in Israel. That's the northern kingdom, because Aliyah was a prophet to the northern kingdom. And he said, I want you to anoint Alashai, which is Elisha, to be prophet in your stead. So he did that. And then Jehu, who really was bloodthirsty. When you read the story, Jehu was bloodthirsty, man. And so Jehu was chosen by the Most High to avenge all the kings that were worshiping Baal. And he basically killed everybody he found that was worshiping Baal. And it basically was a license, like giving a kid that liked candy the keys to the candy store. He was a murderous dude, and he went through and he killed every worshiper of Baal he could find. But he also, after he did that, he started worshiping the golden calves. Okay, and he started oppressing the people in Jezreel that he was supposed to be avenging. Okay, and that's what this is about. So the Most High gave him this power, and it went to his head, and he used his murderous ways to rule with an iron fist over the northern kingdom. And that's why he says here, I'm going to avenge the house of Jehu because of Jezreel. Okay? Y'all got that? So when you want to see the whole story, go read 2 Kings. You'll first and 2 Kings, but 2 Kings is where this part is. Go read 2 Kings. Okay? All right. So that's what it says here. Okay, so let's read verse 4 again. And Yahweh said unto him, call his name Jezreel. So he named the firstborn son of the harlot, that is his wife now, Jezreel. And he said, for yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Israel. Now, the second part is even more dire. I'm going to cause to cease the northern kingdom. Okay, so he had divided Israel into 2 kingdoms, the southern kingdom of Judah, the northern kingdom called Israel with 10 tribes. He said, I'm going to cause the northern kingdom to cease. Through his prophet Hosea, he's telling us that. Okay, so that's why we know that the northern kingdom had been scattered multiple centuries before the kingdom of Judah was scattered by the Romans the last time in AD 70. It was multiple centuries prior, like 400 or 500 years, that the northern kingdom had already been scattered. That's why people say it's the lost tribes. Okay, now Hosea and Amos going to teach us about that, but in the meantime, that's why they're called the lost tribes, because they were scattered way before the southern kingdom. And it was clear, very clear, the southern kingdom mostly went into the continent that we call Africa. Okay, and so that's why we ended up you still got remnants of the southern kingdom all in Africa today. But of course, a lot of the slaves were sold. And even, I have to say, even there's West Africans that don't understand this. And people will say, well, Africans sold Africans into slavery. No, that's not true. Hamites sold Israelites into slavery. That's really what happened. Just because we all have dark skin don't mean, we just all African. No, Hamites sold Israelites into slavery. And in fact, if you look at Judah over there in Ghana, there's a place called the Port of Judah. That's what it's called, the Port of Judah. Why? Because they knew they were selling the southern kingdom into slavery. It's called that to this day. The Port of Judah. They call it the point of no return. Because they knew the Hamite people knew what they were doing. And there were even people of Judah that at the time of slavery had converted to Islam. That's why you had the Mali Empire, you had the Timbuktu Empire, you had the Ghanaian Empire, the Ashanti Empire, and they were all converts to Islam. And even some of the people they sold, but they was Israelites. They were Judah. They were southern kingdom that was being sold to the children of Europe. Okay, they were being sold. So we know that the southern kingdom came later, but the northern kingdom had already been scattered. So here's what Hosea is talking about. Okay, verse 5. And it shall come to pass at that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. And she conceived again and bare a daughter. And Yah said unto him, call her name Lohuramah, for I will no more have mercy on the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. So Ruamah means mercy. Lo means no. Lohuramah means no mercy. So the firstborn child, the son, was called Jezreel because he said, I'm going to avenge Jezreel on Israel. And then he said, Lohuramah, the first daughter, no mercy. I'm not going to show mercy to Israel. See, he's being harsh with his chosen people. Why? Because he expects more from the chosen. He is expecting more. He's very jealous. He's not changed. This day, he's still very jealous. Okay? We're going to talk more about that. But let's continue. Verse 7. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and will save them by Yahweh their Most High, and will not save them by bow nor sword, battle, nor by horses or by horsemen. He will have mercy on the house of Judah, and he will save them, but not by bow and sword. Remember what I said. We must understand, because what you're seeing now is so-called African, the so-called Negro. This is Judah. And what you need to understand is our deliverance is not going to come by our marching in the street, by Black Lives Matter, by changing the law, by so-called reparations. We're not getting delivered by that. He just said it right here. Your deliverance is not going to come from these ways. Man's not going to deliver you. Did Moses deliver the children of Israel out of Egypt? Was it Moses that delivered them? If you think that, you need to go read it again. It was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He said, I am come down to deliver them. That's what he told Moses. He said, I chose you to go get the message to Pharaoh and to the people, but I'm come down to deliver them. Did Joshua really by himself lead the children of Israel into Egypt? Into the promised land 40 years later? No. There was that angel that said, brother, take your shoes off your feet. You standing on holy ground. And he was standing there with his sword drawn. And he gave Joshua the instructions about what was going to happen with Jericho. That's why. That one is Messiah. He's now our high priest. And when he finishes sealing us, he's going to come with that sword drawn again on a white horse. Look at Revelation 19. That's him. He coming back again with that sword drawn. Okay? Like I told y'all, the Most High has shown us. He punishes his chosen. Where does that leave the heathen? I say this to you again, because the heathen in charge now of Babylon. And I say this to the heathen, listen carefully, except you repent, you next. We got ours. We caught the beat down. Except you repent, you next. Okay, that's the truth. I'm trying to be real with you. All right, let's continue. Call her name Lohuramah. Verse 8. Now, when she had weaned Lohuramah, she conceived and bare a son. Then said the Most High, call his name Lo-Ami, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your Most High. Call his name Lo-Ami. Ami, my people. Lo, not. Call his name Lo-Ami, not my people. And what you're going to see when you read between the lines, that might not even have been Hosea's son. That's why he said, not my people. Isn't that powerful? Because he married a harlot. Okay? Watch. Let's continue. Verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living Most High. So the northern kingdom was going to be scattered. Let's take this step by step as we reveal it, as the Most High shows us in His Word. So He said, "You're not going to be my people. I'm scattering you. I'm finished with you. I'm just going to finish the whole kingdom." But one day, people that are going to be looking at you saying, "That's not the Most High people," they're going to say, "Oh yeah, those are the sons of the living Most High." Okay, so wait, we're getting hints of the northern tribe and the southern tribe. Notice He said the southern tribe is going to go into captivity, but they're not going to be delivered by man. And all of us that come from West Africa, in terms of our ancestors coming from slavery, we are the southern kingdom. Okay, we're the southern kingdom. And so we know who we are. Where's them 10 northern tribes? Well, first of all, He tells us they're people that you don't call His people. You don't call them His people. And they worship other gods. Okay, let's keep going. But they're going to eventually come back. Verse 11. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. Why is He called the day of Jezreel? That's the day of visitation, the day of judgment, the day of redemption, the day when all the chosen people from Judah and Israel will say, "This is our Most High. We have waited for Him. He will save us. We will rejoice and be glad in His salvation. And all the heathen shall know that He is Yahweh." Isn't that what the prophets say? All heathen shall know He is Yahweh. Okay? Praise the Most High. "And I will put what I put on you on them that persecuted you." That's what He told us. That's why I say to y'all, we need to repent, you Gentiles. Repent, or you next. Okay? What I put on my people, I'm going to put on y'all. And He also said in the book of Revelation, what did He say? Double. Double unto them in the cup of His indignation. Okay? Let's continue. Well, before we continue, I want to give you a couple of witnesses. We see one here in verse 11 where it says children of Judah and children of Israel, bringing them two separate entities. Here's Judah and here's Israel. Again, Israel was scattered hundreds of years, and then 100 years later, 300, 400, 500 years, Judah was scattered. Two separate entities, right? Isaiah chapter 11. And I admonish you, when you read this here, come back and go start at chapter 10. Now, we're not going to do that today, but go back to chapter 10 and read Isaiah 10 and 11. You'll get a very, very clear picture, of the situation. And read 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14, because it shows you the whole thing at that point. But most people won't do that. But I'm just telling you, we did a whole study on Isaiah too. It's in the Isaiah series. I can't remember if it was 2018 or 2019, but we did a study on a book of Isaiah. And so you might want to go into the Raw Hebrew Remnant. You could go in, the playlist is in my channel on YouTube, or the playlist is also in the website, rawhebrewremnant.org. Sister Ishar managing that for us. And you can go on the website and see the Isaiah series there. But we went into this there. It's powerful, man. But let's just look at the pertinent part we're talking about today in relation to Israel and Judah. So let's start in Isaiah chapter 11. First, I'm going to start at verse 10. "And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious." Now, the root of Jesse, that's the ensign of the people, is Messiah. Okay, that's Messiah. And it said, to it, or to him, shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. They're seeking the Hebrew Messiah. If it was white Jesus, this had been done already, because everybody in the whole world knows white Jesus, right? Between all of the various denominations that were former Catholics, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the SDAs, the Mormons, the Baptists, the Pentecost, they all sent their missionaries all over the earth, and they still sending them, trying to corrupt the earth with this white Jesus. But that's not the true one. When the Israelites awaken, they're going to bring the true gospel and the true Israelite Messiah. To it shall the Gentiles seek, which means it's coming from Israel to the Gentiles. Apostle Paul's the example. Okay, let's continue. Verse 11, and it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand again, the second time, to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Amath, and from the islands of the sea. So the second time, when was the first time? The first time when he went to recover his people was when he took them out of Egypt. That was the first time. He said, now I'm going to set my hand again the second time to recover the remnant of my people, which shall be left. That means the remnant. I'm going to recover the remnant. Okay. And I'm taking them from all these islands. And if you notice, most of these places in what the continent that we call Africa, you're talking about Pathros, Egypt, you're talking about Cush, or places that were dominated by Hamitic people, Shinar, Hamath, and then the islands of the sea. We know that's the children of Yefet. Okay, again, verse 12. Watch this now. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. So Israel has been outcast, and Judah has been dispersed to the four corners of the earth. So now you got another hint, right? So Israel's been outcast, like they don't even know who they are. And Judah's been dispersed, like measurably gone in different areas. That's the transatlantic slave trade, the sub-Saharan slave trade. They've been dispersed. Okay. Then verse 13, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. See? They're going to obey Israel and Judah, which is going to be one nation. And notice it says Edom, Moab, and Ammon. These are the original bloodline, Edom, Moab, and Ammon, who have been scattered, as we read in Jeremiah chapter, I think it was 49. We read it there. And we're going to read it more as we go on. But we saw, and we're going to see it in Amos as well. The original bloodline inhabitants of these places have been scattered. The people you see there now are not the original inhabitants. Oh, they can say, we've been here 1,000 years, but you got to go back further than 1,000 years. You got to go back 4,000 years. And you'll see the original inhabitants of Edom, Moab, and have been scattered. Now, Edomites did mix with Romans. They did mix with and that's why you got an Edomite king in Herod that was over Edomia at the time of the Messiah. And then later on, that mix became what you saw in Eastern Europe as Ashkenazi Jewish, right? But those are not Semites. Those are children of Yefet, as Noah prophesied. Japhet shall dwell in the tents of Shem. That's what they're doing. Okay, so here you're gonna have the original ones get their land back as the Most High has promised them, but they're gonna be subject, to us, the Israelites. It says, look, it says it right here. They shall fly. They shall lay their hand upon Edom, Moab, and Ammon, and Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. Okay. There you go. So that's the point that also Hosea is talking about. We got two witnesses right there. I don't want to go into Ezekiel, but if you want more, read Ezekiel 36 and 37. Tell you the same thing. Ezekiel 36 and 37. I'm giving you the reference for the third witness if you want. Okay. Then, of course, there's others. Leviticus 26 also. Same thing. Deuteronomy 30. Okay. There's other witnesses, but I'm just giving you 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 so you can look it up for yourself. Let's go back to Hosea now. Chapter 2. Say ye unto your brethren, Ami. So now he's not saying lo Ami, he's saying Ami, right? Say unto your brethren, Ami, and to your sister Ruama. See, now he's saying mercy and my people. Say to mercy and to my people, plead with your mother. Plead, for she is not my wife, neither am I her husband. Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts. Now he had married her. In the Hebrew Israelite culture, when a man has sex with a woman, There's only three things she could be. If you want to have sex with her, there's only three things she could be. She could either be your wife, your concubine, aka girlfriend, or a whore. You're only going to have sex with three types of women in the Bible: a wife, a concubine, or a whore. He's telling us, even though he was told to marry her, she has actually played the whore. Why? Because obviously a wife can become a whore if she starts having sex with other men. That's a whore to the Most High. So you start having sex with other men aside from your husband, you are a whore to the Most High. They might dress it up now and call it an affair, right? But either you're a girlfriend, a wife, or a whore. This woman was playing the whore. And so apparently, some of those children may not have been his. That's why he said, tell her to stop doing that, man. Playing the whore, embarrassing me. Right? That's what happened, right? I mean, you doing this, everybody see, everybody getting what's mine. Everybody knows about it. That's embarrassing, man. And I don't even know if that last one was mine. Can you imagine? Her and tell her to put out. Now, in the spirit, what is he saying? Israel is trying to worship Yah and worship other gods. You have your husband, Israel. Yah is your husband. But you trying to play the wife to him and have other gods too, and you're producing children in the spirit that are worshiping don't even know what. You worshiping the sun, the moon, and the stars, and great spirits, and animals. You were calling women goddesses. You can't do that. That's embarrassing. He's jealous. That's what's going on. Okay. Verse 3. He's threatening her now. Lest I strip her naked and set her as in the day that she was born, and make her as a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. Yeah, I put all the clothes on you. I fed you. See, that's in the Bible. Let me show you. That's what a husband is supposed to do. See, notice Ezekiel. I'm sorry, not Ezekiel. Exodus. Exodus. I believe it's chapter 23. Let me see. Let me make sure here. No, it wasn't 23. Maybe it was 22. Hold on one second. I'm going to find it. Man. I got to find it here. Let me see. There it is. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's chapter 22. It's chapter 22. I'm going to begin at verse 16. Chapter 22, verse 16. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall utterly endow her to be his wife. If her father utterly refuse to give her unto them, he shall pay dowry according to the dowry of virgins. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. No, that's not it. That's not it. I'm sorry. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. Hold on one second. That was not it. I got to find this. Bear with me one second, brethren. I got to find this here. Is it 22? Man, I can't find it now. But it's either 22 or 23. I gotta find it, but it tells you what a husband's supposed to do. He's supposed to provide food and clothing for his wife. And he's supposed to, and of course, she's supposed to live with him in the house that he has in his place. And when if they were to get divorced, she has to go back to her father's house. I just got to find it in here. She has to go back to her father's house if they get divorced. But she's supposed to be with him, and she's supposed to be being taken care of by her husband. That's the idea. And in the Bible, we'll talk more about this on the relationships channel, but in the Bible, a marriage in the Bible is not what marriage is today. It's not the same thing that you see today. in the Bible, marriage was about survival, okay, and the building up of a nation. So that many times the day of a marriage, as you see, like with Isaac's wife Rebecca, they didn't even know each other before the day that he took her into his mother's tent and had sex with her. That was the marriage, and it was arranged by the two families. And the object was to have sons. Now, the reason they wanted sons wasn't because of feminism. The reason they wanted sons is because sons would grow up and support the mother. There was no social security. So sons were supposed to grow up and support their mother and their father if they were old, right? The son's supposed to do that. And a man is supposed to be established before he takes a wife. He's not going to take a wife being broke. He's supposed to take a wife when he can provide the food and the shelter and the clothing for her. Y'all hearing me? And if a man had more money, if he was wealthy like a king, or he came from wealth, then he could take more than one wife. Why? Because he could support them with food and shelter and clothing and give her more sons, which could take care of her. Because the sons were the Social Security. The sons were the retirement. No, it's definitely in Exodus. So today, many people don't understand. It still goes on today, but people call it by different names because of Puritanism of Christianity. But the truth is that I found it. It's Exodus chapter 21. I didn't go back far enough. It's Exodus chapter 21. It's Exodus 21. Okay, I'm going to start at verse 7. This is for maid servants becoming wives, but it's the same for wives. Exodus chapter 21, beginning at verse 7 and going, praise the Most High. I'm going down to verse 10. Exodus 21 from 7 to 10. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maid servant, and she go not out as the men servant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself. See, now he's betrothing her. That means she's going to be his wife. Then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her. And if he hath betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the matter of daughters. If he take him another wife, her food, talking about the first wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage, he shall not diminish. So that's part of being a husband. Food, raiment, duty of marriage, which means sex. He shall not diminish. Because why? Because they were looking for sons to take care of them when they got older. Now, today, it's the different situation. We've been influenced by Christianity, and it's kind of all mixed up now. But though there's many cultures that still do this, in many cultures in the Middle East, so-called Middle East and Africa, they still do this. They still have it this way because they still, again, Social Security and retirement benefits, that's in the United States. That's not in Africa. That's not in a lot of countries. So the women are still looking for sons that's going to get older and be strong and take care of their mother. Okay, that's still the case. And you still have it today, even in this culture we in, but we look at it sideways. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. Again, it's about the wealth of the man and his ability to provide. Okay, now I'm gonna give you a real life example, and this is over and over again. This happens on a private level and the public level. Carmelo Anthony is a basketball player. He played for the New York Knicks for about 7 to 8 years. He played for the Denver Nuggets before that. He signed his first big contract when he was with the Denver Nuggets. I think he had like 60 million or something like that. And he married a woman. All right. He married somebody. And then they eventually had a child together. He came to New York. And when one time he got another big contract, 100 million, 120 million. Plenty of money. So he met another woman and impregnated her. And he's taking care of the child's wife and giving her money and giving the woman that he had the second child with money. And everybody said, oh, he cheated on his wife. That's what people say. But the woman don't think about it like that because both women they got their own mansions set up. They got money coming to them monthly, much more than they would make without Carmelo, right? And that's the way it is in the Bible. But today we call it cheating on your wife. But then they call it marriage. You understand? It's the thing that happened. Why could he do that? Because he's making, he made 100, by now Carmelo Anthony's made $300 million. You take half of that away from taxes, it's still $150 million. He could live on $1 million a year for 150 years if he wanted to, and he could give each wife $10,000, $20,000 a month if he wanted to, right? Why? Because they know they're getting taken care of, and their children going to be taken care of. That's biblical marriage, really. Okay, you see that in private and public. I used to work in a bank in Washington, D.C. My wife and I were separated. Now, separated in the Hebrew term doesn't mean I go make a woman, right? But I was managing a bank. So I dressed in a suit and tie. I was in D.C. And I would see many women come to bank. Young girl, I was something years old, but I see young girls in their 20s that have children living in the projects. And when they see me, they don't care if I'm married. To them, oh, he's a manager. He must make some money. He can help take care of me. And they would say, brother, you married? Or, what's your situation? They didn't really care. Some of them say, I don't care if you married. You need something too, and I need something too. But it's the same situation, the same thing. She needs help. She's a single parent. And I've seen multiple women like that. She's in the project, and she won't want to live in the project, or she need help. She's only making, minimum wage, and she need help to pay bills, to get sneakers for her kid. You see what I'm saying? It's the same scenario. You seeing it, but in the way we look at it today, we don't look at it that way. But that's the same thing we looking at here in the Bible. It's the same thing. But I didn't do it, and I tell you why. 2 reasons. Number one, I made a vow to my wife that I will only be with her. That was my vow. The Bible says, pay your vows. So my vow to her was, I'm only going to be with you. Number one. Number two, I'm too old and ain't got enough money to deal with two. So even if my wife was saying, okay, I understand. And there's women out there that's like that. They'll say, I understand. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of women out there like that. That'll say, look, I need help in the house. If you're going to do it anyway, bring her here. Let's take a look. If you have people that do that. Okay. But not everybody could do that because look, my wife is Puerto Rican. If you know anything about Puerto Ricans, you know that ain't happening. Okay. And that goes for Puerto Rican men and women. The men are the most jealous men I've ever seen in my life. And the women, no, it's just not happening. So when we were getting married and I said to her, I'm not going to have nobody else but you. That's the vow. Okay. So it doesn't matter what woman come. I made a vow. Okay. Now, if she were to say to me, okay, husband, I'm going to allow you to do this. That's a different thing. But I can't just do it. And I certainly shouldn't do it secretly, right? That would be dishonest. But the dynamic is the same. It's the same dynamic. Okay, it's the same dynamic. It's not about, in the Bible, it wasn't about a man all the time. I just want to have me a bunch of women and be a pimp. That's not, It's not that. The women need a man. Don't listen to this woman's live mess, man. The women need a good man. And if you're willing and able to provide for her, she don't care if you got somebody. I'm telling you, I can't even tell you how many I met like that because I was managing different branches in DC, and I would see, and they would go like, they would see in Maryland they have a little bit of a twang. If you notice, they would say, "You married? You married?" And some of them didn't even care. Didn't even care because they struggling. It wasn't that they thought, oh man, I just need this man. I want this man. He's so handsome. No, to them, I'm representing professionalism and money. I can help them. That's what they was thinking. And I'm willing to give you something. If you give me something, let's pay for play. They wanted something to help. Their husband was dead or in jail or gone. Okay. That's the way it is. Okay. But that's biblical marriage. All right. Now it won't work all the time today, again, because if you have an understanding with your woman that you was just supposed to be with her, don't come say, well, the Bible says I can have more than one. No, you got to keep your vow, y'all. You got to keep it. If you walk into it and she's of the understanding of the Hebrew and say, okay, you can have another one beside for me. That's it. The Bible really, when you look at it closely, says really you shouldn't have more than two. You shouldn't have too many. And if you see Solomon, you would know. if you see David, you would know they too many. You're gonna have problems. Women is naturally jealous. A woman represents the biblical Israelite nation. She's a representation of the nation. And the Most High is jealous of his woman. Women are naturally also jealous. So don't, even if she agrees, you're going to have problems. That's just how it's going to be. But most of them not going to agree. I'm just telling you. But you do have, I'm not going to say it doesn't exist or that it can't. It does exist. It does exist. There are many times. One time a dude in New York, he was from New Jersey actually, but he hit lotto. It was back in the 70s, early 80s, and it was $5 million at that time. That was a tremendous amount of money. He had hit the lotto for $5 million, and he showed up at the lotto office with his wife on one hand and his girlfriend on the other. And they were both smiling from ear to ear. Because they knew about each other. They had never met each other. But when he got that $5 million, he was like a plumber or something, supporting both of them. But when he got the $5 million, boy, they had no problem. That's what I'm saying. They had no problem. Okay. So that's it. Right? But it ain't about just spreading your seed and leaving the woman to raise your seed. A true husband is going to provide for his woman, and he's going to provide for his seed. Okay, that's what the biblical marriage is about. Okay, so here in Hosea, and I got a little bit off topic about it. I don't think y'all minded that, but here in Hosea, this woman is having other men come into her. Nah. Even if you're a concubine, it's supposed to be just that one man. Woman not supposed to have more than one man. Okay, there's only supposed to be one organ going up in her. That's it. Okay, if he's taking care of her and you have to understand he's taking care of you and some other woman, that's just how it is. But this woman here, Israel, was having more men. She was having other gods. That's not. Remember now, the woman is representing the nation. The woman is representing the nation. So she has to be pure. She's got to be dignified. She's got to be honorable. She's representing the nation. Okay? She's representing the nation. And so this woman was not representing the nation. She was actually misrepresenting the nation. Misrepresenting the nation. And that's what Hosea is discussing here. She's misrepresenting the nation. She's messing around with other men. Okay. And right, I want to say this, although Yahweh does allow this, it's not his ideal. Remember, he made Adam and he made Eve, right? He didn't make Adam with Eve and Cindy and all of these other ones. He just made Adam and Eve, right? So, right? So that's his ideal, right? So he has himself and Israel, his wife. But at the same time, on the earth, like I said, you got sisters out here struggling. Trying to raise kids, trying to be mommy and daddy. They're not supposed to be mommy and daddy. They're not supposed to. Okay? They're not supposed to. Although that is obviously the situation. But you see, part of the problem we have now is people being mommy and daddy, and they're not supposed to be daddy. And it's hard. And then men grow up not knowing how to be daddy and worshiping mommy. I mean, true. Right? They don't have a real daddy to look at and say, okay, this is daddy. This is how a daddy's supposed to be. And so you got mommies raising children as mommy and daddy. That's not the situation. And women know that. The real women know that. They know that. Okay? Never mind this women's living all this stuff that they're putting out there in the media. I don't need a man crap. They know that. And that's why I'm saying on the DL, they will take somebody else's man and take them to help if he's going to help. You know what I'm saying? If he gonna help, he could be Jones' man and my man too, as long as he help. I've had him tell me this. I'm telling you. I'm not lying. I'm not making this stuff up. Okay. So it's out there for sure. And if you flashy, like you Carmelo and you sign a contract, and or you an athlete, or you somebody that you pulling up in $100,000 car and you dripping, and they know you dripping, and please, they don't care if you married. You could provide. Okay. We all in it. Okay. Period. That's just how it is. I'm just being real with you. So here, though, the ideal, right, is for the man and the woman to be one. That's the ideal. That's the ideal, for the man and the woman to be one. Okay, and that's what Yah has with Israel. But of course, as we're seeing here in Hosea, she was not fulfilling her role properly. She was, what we used to say in New York, she was slipping and dipping. Yeah, she was slipping and dipping. And that was the problem. All right. I'm gonna take a break here and stop here for a minute. We got a little bit off topic, but not really. I think we did all right. I'm gonna cover this topic more on the Raw Hebrew Relationships channel. I'm gonna cover this topic more because obviously it's a real thing, right? So we gotta talk about that. But here in Hosea, it's a really good example of it, though. So we're gonna stop here in chapter 2, and we're gonna continue after the break. Is now 12:38. Oh, that's a good question. I got to answer that first. Heavenly Garden asks, where does thou shalt not commit adultery come in? Ah, excellent question. So let's talk about that. For Israel, right, as a nation, committing adultery means worshiping another God, right? Right? So when he says thou shalt not commit adultery, don't have no other God. And he starts off the covenant. I am the Lord thy God, right, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. That's how it starts. Okay. Now, on the man and woman level, right? What is adultery in the Bible sense? Well, let's talk about Hosea here. Let's talk about Hosea. Thank you, Yakuba. Let's talk about Hosea. So, what was adultery here? He married this woman. He provided for her clothes and raiment and shelter and food. Provided for her children. She has other men. That's adultery. That's adultery from the woman's side. Okay. What about from the man's side? Well, we already said a man, if he can support 2 women or more in the Bible, as you saw with David and Solomon and Jacob, if he could support 4 women and 12 sons, okay, that was his thing because they were all getting sons to help support them. Okay. But let's say Jacob got a woman pregnant and left her, and she's out there. That's adultery on his part. He's not supporting her. He just had sex with her, dropped his seed, and went. That is adultery. Or he goes out and there's a known harlot. She's having sex with whoever's paying. That is adultery from the man's side. It's also called fornication. Okay. So you're having sex with somebody that you're not planning to support. You're not planning on helping. That's adultery from the man's side. Or you're having sex with somebody that's somebody else's husband. Wife. You slipping in and having sex with another man's wife, that's adultery. She's only supposed to have 1 penis, and you done gave her 2 now. That's adultery. You got that? Did that answer your question, Heavenly Garden? So from the woman's side, she's having sex with somebody that's not her husband. From the man's side, he's having sex with somebody either he has no intentions of taking care of, or somebody else's woman. Okay. Because listen, and you know what? The Most High brings this to me. I'm still a man. I'm not going to front and say, I don't see a pretty woman. Anybody telling you their eyes don't see another woman, they lying to you. With these chicks out here wearing scantily stuff, you can't say you don't see it. Be real now. But what I do know is when I see a woman, I say, Most High has given me my stuff. This is my cistern right here. And if she's married, that stuff belongs to him. That's his cistern. It's not mine. You understand? That's his to dip in. That's not mine. And if I was to dip in it, I'd be messing up with the Most High because that's not mine. It's made for him. And this is mine. I got mine. That's made for me. You understand? So I'm just, okay. So that's what it is. Brothers, if brothers understood, this is the truth. So if you look at the word of Most High and get the truth out of it, now you see, you go a woman. Listen, a man, again, I'm going to tell you the truth now. A man is aroused by what he smells, what he sees, what he hears, mostly, what he tastes, what he could touch. A man is aroused by that. And if you think you're not going to see another woman in life that's going to make you aroused, you lying. You straight lying. because you're going to meet women that's going to arouse you. That's going to happen. But your mind, the head here, has to think and have the reason and the power of the spirit over the head down there. And so you think and you see it, and maybe she got everything physically you want, but that's not your stuff. That's not yours. That's not yours. I could see a nice car, and I can say, man, that's bad. That's a bad vehicle. That's a bad ride right there. But it's not mine. I can say that's a nice house. That's a bad house right there. But it's not mine. And it don't make no difference and no sense for me to be wishing on something that's not mine. You understand? And you better be glad, because some of the stuff that you see and smell, she might be smelling good. She might appeal to your senses, get you all excited. Brother, you be dipping into a world of hell and you don't even realize if you got any sense. That's why these young cats, a lot of these young cats shouldn't be trying to get married. They trying to have sex. I get a lot of young dudes talking about, can I have 2 wives? And what they doing, that's their hormones speaking. That ain't, I'm going to take care of them speaking. They ain't mature enough. You understand? Well, you know, that's what I'm saying. So, brethren, I hope I answered. I hope I answered the question. But yeah, nah. You gotta be real, man. You gotta be real. You gotta be real. I ain't gonna front. I'll be telling you, I don't flash it in front of my wife. Like I don't say, "Oh, she's so fine." I don't be doing that. That's disrespectful to her. But I'll be stupid. I'll be lying to you if I didn't say, man, I didn't seen this one or I seen that one. And man, she was hot. I'll be dumb if I'll be lying. I'll be lying. And that's part of the reason Christianity failed. They expect you to say, oh, I didn't really see her with them thick thighs like that. I didn't see that. I didn't see that behind looking like that. No, I didn't see that. Please. Come on, man. Be real. You saw it. She wanted you to see it. You saw it. What you gonna do? But you understand, understanding and wisdom says that's not mine. And Father will give you power to say no. Don't ever believe a man, sisters, that say, oh, I didn't know what was going to happen. It just happened. That's some crap, man. Come on now. Come on. Stop. Stop. Hey, listen. Sometimes all a brother needs is the opportunity. That's the only thing stopping him. It ain't nothing else but that. If they tell you, oh, we just happened to work together and we accidentally fell in love, man, he saw her, he smelled her. And there's scents that you can smell. It hung. There's a scent that a woman has and a man has. It ain't no joke. I saw her, I caught her, she caught me. We met eyes. All he needs now is opportunity. And then he gonna later tell you, I didn't mean for it to happen. That is some garbage. That's some garbage. Sometimes with a woman, it's like that. She may not mean for it to happen, but then again, most times they know what they're doing too. But with every brother, there is no way at all they didn't know there was a possibility that could happen when they see it. There was just no way. Please. That's always 100% of the time premeditated. Always. Come on, man. Be real now. That's what I'm saying. One of the things I love about the Most High, you can be real with him. You don't have to front. You don't have to front. You don't have to front. You don't got to front. You could be real with him. And I'm telling you, you could be real with him. You could tell him exactly how you feel, what you want. You could just tell him, because he knows you're a sinner. He knows you are. And he will help you. He will give you power and grace to overcome what your lower passions want to do. He will. I'm totally witness to that. Okay, totally witness to that. So, okay. Sorry about it. So we're going. Sorry I kept y'all longer. Sorry about that. But it's 12:47. We're going to come back at 1:30, and we're going to continue in chapter 2 of Hosea. Continue in chapter 2 of Hosea by the grace of the Most High. Okay, so please, if I don't see you again today or whenever, we might see each other on the sea of glass. Hopefully, please be safe out there. Please, be careful. May y'all bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you and lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. If I see you again today, we'll praise the Most High. We'll see each other again. We'll be back at 1:30 with part 2. As we go into Hosea chapter 2. Shalom.